Hubba. Just to start you off, yes, I'm doing another video without the baseball cap, and enough for the fucking Lex Luthor jokes, okay? My name is Jesse, not Lex. Okay guys, here's another reminder and another informal video. I'm not interested tonight in going into the psychobabble and all the rest of it. But I would like to talk a little bit about when people feel triggered. Okay? Because I get this every fucking day. I feel triggered. Jesse, I feel triggered. Well, boo fucking who? Okay? Now, let me explain something to you, okay? A lot of this comes from, usually, people who experience false attraction, okay? Or false arousal. You know, it happens with all forms of OCD and HOCD, I mean. But, you know, I get a lot with false attraction, false arousal, and it goes something like this, okay? Somebody will, you know, contact me and say, oh, well, I can't watch the TV. I can't watch certain shows, okay? I've talked about all this before. But there's somebody, you know, on the TV that I think I'm attracted to. I can't go out. I can't, you know, go here or go there. It's everywhere I look. Every male I see, I get false attraction, false arousal, and I get intrusive thoughts, you know. It could be anything. Bet you like that guy. You know, that guy's really handsome. You know, whatever the thought may be, okay? And these people's lives, what happens is they shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink until in the end, there is no life. The only life you got is continually dodging bullets, trying to stay out of harm's way, you know, trying to use bad distraction, you know, whether it's alcohol, whether it's video games, whether it's anything to take your mind off feeling triggered, okay? Now, as I've said a million times before, you need to move into your triggers. Now, people don't want to hear this, okay? And people are watching, you know, the clock, or click off the fucking video. I'm done with him, blah, blah, blah. People want me to tell them soothing things, okay? They come on here and expect me to tell them what they want to hear. But I'm telling you what you need to hear. Okay? Before I go any further, let me just say something. Okay? Years ago, I was going out with a girl, and I can even remember the year. It was 1997. And she had an ex-boyfriend. Now, I'm no shrinking violet, okay? But this guy had a fearsome reputation, and I dodged him. I ducked him for about 14 months. No, it wasn't quite that. It was about 10 or 11 months. And in the end, I had no choice. I had to face this guy. So me and this guy got into it. I'm not going to give you the details, but what I will say is that the longer I avoided him, the more and more afraid I was of him. So by the time I fought him, I was petrified. I was trembling so badly, my knees were uncontrollable. I couldn't stop them from shaking. But I got into it, and the fight, you know, lasted, you know, quite some time. But by the end of it, my anxiety and fear had come down. Why? Because I confronted the situation and I stayed in the situation. I stayed in the situation, win or lose, until my anxiety came down. Okay? If I put you into a boxing ring, if I was your coach and you were my fighter, and I put you into a boxing ring, just to spar, you might take a few shots, and you'll be fighting, and you'll be, Jesse, I'm triggered, and I'd be like, oh, fucking get on with it. Just get on with it, because the longer you stay in there, the more and more you'll climatize to the distress. Okay? So, when, somebody is avoiding TV shows, or when they're avoiding going out in the street, because they triggered, everything they see triggers them. Everywhere they look, everywhere they go. They go into the shopping mall, they go into the gym, they turn on the TV station. Everywhere there's a male, or there's a female, or whatever gender that you're afraid of, it's there everywhere. It's ubiquitous. So you run, back under your shell and hide. And can I tell you something? In my OCD journey, my two biggest compulsions were avoidance and rumination. Okay? My rumination was so bad that I couldn't even really follow TV shows or anything, because I was too busy lost in my head to follow the plot line. Avoidance, which is what we're talking about, I had no life in the end. I had no life in the end. All I did was stay in. My mind was telling me stories that I didn't have any friends, and my mind was fabricating things. Okay? And I can tell you firsthand, more than anyone on this planet, almost, about loneliness. Loneliness, isolation, and a life that had shrunk so small, all through avoidance. Avoidance is one of the most devastating compulsions that you can have. Okay? So when you feel triggered, to cut a very, very long story short, when you feel triggered, you have to move into it. So you see somebody of the same sex and you get intrusive thoughts. Okay. Usual drill, said it a million times before, let the thoughts come in. Don't fight the thoughts. Allow the thoughts to stay as long as they want. Okay? What is false arousal? What is false attraction? It's intrusive thoughts in feeling form. It's feelings. It's intrusive feelings. So what you do, you see somebody you think you're attracted to, you feel very triggered, you feel like running, you feel like, hiding under a rock somewhere. And the best thing to do is stay there longer and longer and longer in the company of the person who you feel triggered by. It's very simple. Okay, if my life serves any example to anybody of what not to do, this is the video that tells that very story. Avoidance was my biggest compulsion. And my life just went, down to the size of a penny, to a postage stamp. Guys, you've got to face your fear sooner or later. Whether it's school, whether it's a job, you're going to be surrounded with the same sex. There's nothing you can do. But what I will say, and this is off the cuff, this isn't psychobabble, this is Jesse talk. Okay, this is me speaking in my my own philosophical way of describing things and so forth. So I'll just say this, okay? You obviously, there's a part of you that wants to know, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling false arousal? Why am I feeling false attraction? Whatever. I think your OCD is basically dictating to you. And it's saying, you better not get that false arousal. You better not get that false attraction. It's creating a very rigid black and white wall almost in your head. Right? And the fear of the whole thing is propping that up too. Okay? This isn't official talk. This is just my way of trying to explain things. And the more you try not to be attracted, the more you try not to be aroused, the more you push intrusive thoughts away, the more they're going to come in. Okay? This black and white thinking, I mustn't be attracted, which is triggering the part of the brain that's actually making you attracted. What this needs to do is to dissolve. Do you know, like when you get boiling water and you tip boiling water over an ice cube and the ice cube slowly melts? Well, what you want to do is you want to dissolve that black and white thinking. Now, we don't think black and white with everything, because if we did, there'd be no point existing. But we are black and white with certain things. And one of the ways to get over the black and white rigid thinking is to go in field and challenge it. So when you're triggered by somebody, or you're watching the TV show and you want to turn it off, watch it. Watch it twice. Watch it 3 times. Go overboard. Move into it, not away from it. And so it is with people on the street. You could do flooding, which is, I recommend doing things in baby steps. But for the brave out there, you could actually flood yourself and just go completely infield. But you've got to learn how to respond to that. So when you go completely infield and you spend vast amounts of time with the sex that's making you feel uncomfortable, you need to sit with the anxiety and learn not to fight the anxiety. You must tolerate it, because, like I've said before, anxiety goes up, gets worse. I'm triggered. And then as long as you don't leave the situation, it'll come back down. So that's basically it. Okay? I mentioned avoidance. I'm going to title this video something like, what if I'm triggered, or, something with trigger in the title. But it's really a video about avoidance. Because when you avoid things, you strengthen your weakness. When you face things, you strengthen your strength. Okay? If you're working out, okay? If you work out a particular muscle, you're exposing that muscle to pain, and the muscle will grow. If you don't do anything, if you sit on your ass, then that arm is going to remain weak. Or if you don't walk in a long time, your legs become weak. You've got to get up and walk for them to get strong. And I'm saying a lot of things that are, beating about the bush, but I think it's important for things to stick in people's minds, because sometimes when people get into a situation and they're triggered, it goes out the window. It was like years ago when I was about 14. I started to learn karate. And it wasn't even full contact, it was just partial contact. So whenever I'd get into a ruck on the street, I'd get so panicked that I'd forget all my karate. And I'd revert back to type, which is street fighting, you know? So this is why I say things, so that things can eventually stick. So that when you feel triggered, you remember perhaps some of the stories I tell you, and you won't be running away. Because running away and avoiding things weakens you. So whenever you're triggered, in a nutshell, whenever you're triggered, don't run. Don't run. Stay in the situation, and like boiling water over ice cubes, let the anxiety rise and fall and let it melt away, that black and white thinking. You know, that black and white thinking, that's actually, in my opinion anyway, I'm not a professional, but it's that black and white thinking that's propping up the false arousal, the false attraction. You know, it's, you know, how can I say this? When your OCD is demanding rigidly, okay, you must not be attracted. It's activating the part of the brain that's making you attracted. Okay? When you're focusing on what shouldn't happen, you're actually focusing on it. So it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the thing. The more you tell yourself not to, like, and I use the example of keys. You can't remember where you left your keys, and you try and try and try. I must remember where my keys are. And the more you try, the more you fail. You're setting yourself up for failure by trying too hard. It's when you let it go, pop, it'll pop back into your head. So if something feels pleasing to you and you're triggered, and, you know, some guy's butt or whatever feels pleasing to you, then allow yourself to be pleased. Roll with the punch, not against it. Go with it, not against it. You know, you feel triggered in any situation, go with it, not against it. Don't run. So that's the answer to being triggered. Because, and I'll end on this, if you do run, it's like anything else. It's like the bully that you're afraid of. And I can tell you all about bullying too. When you run from the bully or avoid the bully, it's going to be even harder when you eventually stand up to him. It's better to face him, even if you lose. At least you tried. So, you know, I'll end on that. I wouldn't recommend, you know, I did a video once on internet compulsions, and I advise people to stay away from research and stuff, because you're not tolerating the uncertainty. Okay? And people don't know how to handle triggers when they happen. But accidental triggers and actual deliberate triggers, when you deliberately research something in order to be triggered, can be good if you know how to handle the trigger. And only if you're doing it for an exposure and response prevention. The response prevention is everything. Anyway, I'm blabbing and blabbing and blabbing like I normally do. But take care, guys. Remember, don't run from your triggers. Move into them. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.